Tap into the minds of the innovators and the Mavericks who challenge the status quo with new ideas, systems, and solutions. Welcome to Innovation Mavericks.
Welcome to Innovation Mavericks. I'm excited today about our guest, and our topic is focusing on business owners. At Five Plan Partners, we work with business owners, and I am also a business owner. So this is a topic that's very important to me, and especially as business owners move forward in their company, their vision, their dreams, and one day want to transition out of that business, to sell it, pass it on to family. Numerous scenarios you can talk about. I heard a presentation and have gotten to know Andy McFetridge, who is with John Hancock Investment Management. He is head of strategic relationships and investment specialist. And Andy, it's an honor to have you here with us today.
Well, thank you so much, Greg. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
Yeah, well, you gave an outstanding presentation, and as we've gotten to know each other, your background, you've got some designations such as the Certified Private Wealth Advisor Professional, CPWA, also the Certified Exit Planning Advisor. That's a very important designation, and a Chartered Retirement Plan Counselor designation, the CRPC. And so your presentation and the dialogue we've had since just resonated with me, and something I felt like we really needed to share with our business owners. Can you help our audience understand the size of the privately held business market in the U.S. and why that is especially important today?
Gosh, I'd be happy to, Greg. Yeah, when I look at the privately held businesses in the U.S., just the sheer number of them, it is really, really incredible.
Yes.
I'll break it down to like three component parts for your audience. So I'll start with the largest of companies. We call those companies the upper mid-market and above. So these are companies that most of your audience will probably recognize in some fashion. There's 26,000 of these companies, and they have annual sales north of $100 million. So these are the largest of privately held companies in America. The middle segment, we call it the mid-market for obvious reasons. Greg, there's 390,000 of those companies.
Unreal.
Which is a huge number. And those companies really represent anywhere from 5 to 10 million in annual sales. And then there's the micro market. And the micro market is I think, an area where your audience will especially appreciate and know, because they probably know lots of different business owners in their own communities if they're not one already.
Right.
Believe it or not, there's 5.58 million of these types of companies, and they have annual sales just under $5 million, but are steadily growing.
Yes.
So in aggregate, you take a look at the privately held business in the U.S., it's just under 6 million total. I'll go back to that mid-market because your audience might find this to be especially interesting. If you think about that mid-market group, they actually employ a third of all U.S. employees. And if that group was its own country, it would be the fifth largest economy in the United States.
I know our viewers had no idea about that.
And it's interesting because if you take the size of the market that I just described, and then you put it in terms of just the U.S. Census, and there's some statistics that I'll share with you and your audience, I think you'll find it very impressive. First off, incredibly, 51% of all privately held businesses in the U.S., Greg, they're actually owned by baby boomers, 51% of them.
Wow. So around that age 65, I guess, is an average age?
Yeah, I mean, baby boomers are between the ages of 60 and 78 this year.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And the other thing is by the year 2030, they'll all be age 65 for sure.
Okay.
And then a little wrinkle here that I'll share with your audience is, according to the U.S. Census, the average baby boomer starts to think about his or her retirement at the age of 63 for some reason. At age 63, the average boomer starts to say, gosh, I got to start thinking about retirement.
I fully believe that because of the people that will get referred to us.
Sure.
Clients, we try working with them that own businesses. We try working with them a lot younger in their financial planning and how do you transition. But people will come here, and that's a good number.
Yeah. And here's another couple of statistics that I think will blow your audience away. According to the Exit Planning Institute, and that's the institute, Greg, that provides that designation you mentioned, the Certified Exit Planning Advisor designation.
Yes.
According to their annual report that they put out, believe it or not, 48% of all business owners today, they're planning on retiring in the next 5 years. And then above that, another 26% plan to retire in the next 10 years. So in aggregate, in the next 10 years, incredibly, 74% of today's business owners in America, they plan on transitioning. They plan on ultimately positioning their company for sale, working with a financial professional like yourself to do so, harvest that hard work they've put into that business, and ultimately retire, according to the dreams and their aspirations that obviously they've shared with you. There's a challenge though. And this is where a lot of business owners, they just don't know this information. According to the Exit Planning Institute, incredibly, 70 to 80% of businesses that transition, they're actually unsuccessful. They don't transition. So the business owner wants to make that sale, is going out into the marketplace, trying to find the right buyers, but 70 to 80% find themselves in a position where they just simply can't sell the business. There's three main reasons for that. And I think the biggest reason is most business owners just simply don't give themselves enough time to position the business for sale.
I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that. We like to find those business owners several years ahead of time, but we incorporate all that into the financial planning process here at Five Plan Partners.
Right. Yeah, and the other thing is they're just unprepared when an unplanned event sort of forces them into that exit.
Sure.
I'll mention a little bit more about that in just a second. But then the final reason is, with a lot of businesses, and today especially, this, Greg, there's a lot of private equity firms that are out there looking at those mid-tier businesses and even the micro market businesses. And, their due diligence is extreme. They are seasoned, they are savvy, and many business owners are not prepared for the diligence that takes place. And ultimately, they walk away from the deal because the private equity firm provides too low of a price in the business owner's mind.
Well, and that's very true. We've had people referred to us, and they're all excited because they have received this unbelievable offer, and they're like, I'm planning on taking it, but my CPA or my friend said I need to get in here for you guys to do a financial blueprint for me just to double check things. And when we break the news to them that, okay, that sounds like a really nice price for your business, but you can't maintain your lifestyle from that money.
Exactly.
That is a shocker to them. We have saved business owners from making a bad decision, thinking, oh, we've got this now, we can retire, only to find out, well, you've lived extremely well, and this amount will not even come close to supporting you. That's why we try to, in the planning process, get them to look at other avenues as well to increase their net worth. But that's great insight, Andy. I love that. So from the standpoint, can you share with our audience the unique challenges that business owners face? You talked about some of them, but can break it down even more?
Yeah, I'll give you a couple of points that I think your audience will appreciate. This wouldn't shock you, of course, since you work with so many business owners, but 80% of most business owners' wealth is actually tied into their business. It makes sense, right? Because they're focused on growing their business, but it can also lead to a lot of hidden risks, right, Greg?
Right, very much so. And I also like to say, and I have to practice, walk my talk here. But what happens is their personal and professional lives merge together.
Yes.
As you get closer to transitioning, you need to be separating that. You've got to understand that. But you're absolutely right about the growth, and they're so into their business. That is definitely a challenge in multiple ways.
Yeah, and then two other points I'll mention is incredibly, 50% of business transitions in the US are actually involuntary, meaning there was no real plan to sell the business. It was just forced, the situation forced the sale of the business. And as you know, in any scenario where you're forced to sell, it's probably a discount that's provided to that business. And unfortunately, that business owner or family won't probably receive the proceeds that they'd hoped and planned for.
Yes. Yeah, that's a big issue. It really is. So you've got to, there's so many things that need to be planned out, mapped out. Again, using the financial blueprint as our example, we're able to give them the what if scenarios, because involuntary, it could be because of a death, not only a death, but there's also the whole, you have a stroke, health goes down, nobody else in the family, or you haven't trained leadership to take over within your company, and they have no idea as to how this business is going to run. And depending on the type of business, especially in the service industry, those customers can vanish fast. They sense those types of weaknesses.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll just mention here with regards to challenges, as far as the statistic goes anyway, is something I know your audience doesn't really have to worry about because they're working with you, but 75% of all owners actually regret selling their business 12 months after they've harvested the value of that business, which is just mind-boggling to me.
Yeah. In our Your Financial House planning process, we have a room called the Retirement Fulfillment Room.
Okay.
The reason it's called the Retirement Fulfillment Room, and Your Financial House is based on the premise you would never build a house without a blueprint. And you would never give your money to a builder who said, I've heard enough ideas from you. I don't need a blueprint. I'll start construction tomorrow. Write me a check. That's what we call the product advisor. They need money to go into a product. Yes. Here we are all about advice and walking our clients through that planning process. I learned a long time ago from a dear friend, Dan Sullivan at Strategic Coach. And we have passed that on, try to live it here at Five Plan Partners. There are 4 freedoms you want in life, and this is retirement fulfillment. Freedom of time, you own your time. Freedom of money, you have the amount of money to be able to do what you want to do and have your lifestyle. Freedom of purpose, you want to do what you want to do, what you are passionate about. And the 4th is freedom of relationships. And then once you retire, once you sell that business, one of your number one goal is to protect those 4 freedoms. Another question I want to ask here, Andy, is when you and I first met, you spoke about the importance of the 4 intangible capitals in a business and how they are the true drivers of business value. Would really appreciate if you can elaborate on that. I thought that was excellent.
Yeah, no, happy to. To me, this is paramount. For any business owner that's watching this, you and I talk this discussion. So the 4 intangible capitals for business owners include human capital, customer capital, structural capital, and then social capital. And really, all 4 of these capitals are just really key, Greg, to just building the enterprise value, the value of that business that's ultimately, as you know, reflected in the sale price of the business.
Right. Yes.
And if you focus on these 4, I call them 4 C's, not only will it drive the value in the company, but it also allows the business owner, if you think about it, to have a better company today and tomorrow.
Yes.
And the goal, we believe, is to just focus the business owner on strengthening the 4 C's. So I'll just walk real quickly, not elaborate too much, but the first C is human capital, as I said, and it's just the value of the talent within the company, the employees that the business owner employs. If there is a strong mixture of talent and experience and resilience and motivation, the value of the company is just automatically going to increase.
Yeah.
And all things being equal, the stronger the human capital, the more value the market is going to place on that business for sure. Next one is customer capital. And customer capital is the measure of the strength of relationships with the company's best customers, right? Businesses have customers. So you want to make sure these relationships, they're deep, they're integrated, They're tenured relationships. They've been they've been around for a while.
Yes.
You want to make sure there's reoccurring revenue if you can, and that there's some contractual relationships there as well. And of course, a diversified base.
Yeah, very much so.
All of these things are going to lead to a stronger customer capital.
No, I agree with that. I've been doing this 43 years, and today, in our business, we've got clients that believed in me in my 20s that are now in their 70s, 80s, and 90s. We're working with their adult children, and we're working with their grandchildren. From a business standpoint, especially if the families are involved in the business, it's fulfilling regardless. So what is the next C that business owners need to be aware of?
Yeah, Greg, the next capital, or C, is structural capital. And that's just really, if you will, the back end infrastructure of the company, such as the business's processes, its financials, its strategy, its information technology, even its patents, and any other, if you will, intellectual property.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, and it really is the documented, know-how and, if you will, know what of the company that sort of positions it to be fast and flexible, and then as you know, ultimately more valuable, right?
Yes, yeah, very much so. Yeah, and that's key. Systems and processes are key to the success of a company, which also kind of ties in, I'm sure, into training, because you got to train that human capital as to how things are done, and it also, that's important.
Yeah.
Creates habits, creates a culture on that. So, and then what's the next thing?
Yeah, the last one really ties everything together, and that's social capital. So think of social capital as the company's culture and how it embraces its people. Social capital is what really elevates a company to be best in class versus its competitors within the industry that they work in. It sort of includes, how companies and employees communicate with one another, how they operate internally, externally with clients, all these types of things and their customers. And really, Greg, if you think about it, this social capital is one of the greatest predictors, believe it or not, of a business, which ultimately translates into enterprise value and increasing that enterprise value.
Personally and professionally, I fully believe that. There was a book that had a huge influence on me, Epic of America by James Truslow Adams, written in 1931. And it's in that book that he coined the phrase, the American dream. And he said, America is the land where you can have a dream to make your life better, richer, fuller. And the reason I share that, ultimately, with conversations in our organization, that's what I wound up titling my book, Better, Richer, Fuller. It's the tagline to 5 Plan Partners. But what you just said, because our culture is every day, how can we strive to make our clients' lives better, richer, fuller, and help each other make our lives better, richer, fuller? And so it develops a culture, and if you can sense it when we talk to these business owners, if they don't have that, that can be a major problem as they move forward to transition out of the business. I love the fact, Andy, that you have condensed this. I mean, the wisdom that you have given today, I know is beneficial to our business owner viewers, but it's the kind of information or wisdom that people can use as their foundation to move forward in transitioning their business. And I hope you realize that. I hope you realize the rippling effect that you have every day when you're talking to business owners as to the difference that you're making, just for what that's worth.
That means a lot to me, Greg. Thank you, especially coming from somebody like yourself, who's well respected in your community, and you do so much good for your clients. That just means the world to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you. Yes. Well, let's make sure this isn't our last vlog.
All right.
And we've got to do a few more of these. To those of you as viewers, we thank you for taking time. We hope this is beneficial for you. Please give us feedback. As I always like to say, good, bad, or ugly. We like to hear about it and interact, or also how we can elaborate on a particular topic. I can go back to Andy if you have additional questions. We can get you answers. And we just hope that you continue to have a great week. And I'll end on this note then, that moving forward, understanding the importance of having a financial blueprint as a business owner to understand how all your assets work together, but also somewhere, sometime down the road, you won't be some of these statistics that Andy talked about, that your financial blueprint, your exit planning, your transition will be a reality that came from your original vision. We hope you have a great week. Talk soon. Thanks.